Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. Good morning. It is, what is today? Tuesday, June the 2nd. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy, Senior Advocate of Politics, Beauty and Barber. I am the president of the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals. We're going to do an advocate update. It is Blackout Media Day, Blackout Social Media Day. We're going to talk about it all. For those of you that are chiming in, we're definitely going to have a robust discussion. Let's see where Miss Danielle is. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is Blackout Social Media Day. Let's definitely talk about, what's happening, riots, protests, looting. A lot of things are happening across this country. And we have to be, sad times we're living in, Danielle.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are. And a lot of, why are we doing this today? We gotta keep our voices heard. We gotta make sure that, we're speaking, our place in social media is to keep speaking, keep pounding the pavement. I was here in Georgia. There was a press conference this morning. A lady whose son was, these police incidents they're everywhere. And her son was
Yes.
shot 76 times. 76 times. So she was doing a press conference this morning, and I shared that, and her voice had to be heard. So we just have to keep talking. We got to keep talking, and we got to keep the pressure on, Danielle.
I can't even process 76 times.
Mm-hmm.
It took 76 shots. That's unbelievable. That's unfathomable.
Yeah. This country still has a long way to go. How is it? How is it in PA? You're in Erie, Pennsylvania.
I am.
How is it in
We were on a state of emergency because of the peaceful protests that turned into a little bit more of a rioting, looting situation. We are a smaller city, but we're still affected by what's happening across the globe. It's almost surreal to walk out your door and see police everywhere. We were told that we couldn't go to certain sections of the city. We couldn't walk in the parks. The parks were closed. And then there's still the undertone of racism where, some people understand the plight, and then there's others that they're more concerned with, businesses, the loss of businesses compared to the actual loss of a life. So it's been very, draining and very overwhelming.
PA? It's been heavy. I mean, I was actually really weepy, and I realized that, I feel like I'm mourning. I'm mourning something, and it's mourning the loss. I couldn't even watch the video of George Floyd. I could not. I have not watched that whole video. I could not watch
Me neither.
of Ahmaud Arbery here in Georgia. I could only imagine Breonna Taylor up in Louisville. I can't. My spirit just can't. As a people, it's so heavy.
It is. It is. And it's almost hard to just mentally process, because there's just some things that I realize you just cannot unsee. So once you expose yourself to those things mentally, it almost acts like an instant replay where it just kind of replays over and over in your mind. And there, not that I don't want to acknowledge what has happened, but it's just very difficult to just have those images and those visions just replay over and over in your mind. It's very, it just shakes you down to your core. It really does.
And in our mind, but it's in our spirit, because this has been 400 years of oppression, lynchings. We're witnessing lynchings.
Yes.
So this thing is in our DNA. The trauma of this is still in our DNA, and
Yes.
when we see it again, it jars us. it takes you back. It puts you back in a place and in a mindset, and it's just it's hard. It's hard. So yeah, we're gonna keep speaking. We're gonna keep the pressure on. We're gonna bring in. We have Miss Brenda over in Ohio. Good morning, Miss Brenda.
Good morning. Good morning, girls.
Good morning.
Morning. How's
Yeah,
everything been, Dr. Brenda?
it is a time of just prayerfulness, continuous prayer. Every time I'm looking at the news, I'm praying because it's praying without ceasing, for real.
Mhm.
And I just like what you were saying, weeping, and it's very hurtful. In my city, we've had it. I live in Toledo, Ohio. And in the state of Ohio, we've had the outbreaks in our capital city, Columbus, Ohio, um, and some of our smaller cities, Bowling Green and Flint, Michigan, and here in Toledo. We've had outbreaks of the unrest and the injustice that's going on. And I've even seen in some of our local cities that the chiefs of police have been engaging, walking with the protesters, as some protesters are there for peace and
Mhm.
they're believing for a change. But then there's those that want to cause the problem because they use this as their platform to get whatever they're doing out there and making a mockery of the peaceful situation. But police chiefs have taken off their hats and walked and joined in. And even here in my city, they protested and they went to the chief's house until he came out and walked with them and hugged them that were the leaders of it because they want a meeting with the chiefs of police. They want a meeting with the mayor. And that's what the protesters want. They want a sit down meeting. Things have to be worked out from the state to the local to the net to the national. It has to be worked out. Change has to come about, and it's time for a change. And so that the hurt and through all of the COVID-19, it's like we can't take our eye off of that, but it's just so much.
It's a
But we
lot.
this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. 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 It has to be. Change has to come. It has to come. And everything is like been shaken up from this pandemic. Now these protests and rioting, looting. It's this country is being totally shaken at its core.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe there's going to be something good on the other side of it. That's I think that's my solace. Like, how do I
Amen.
stay in this and say, okay, because God is such a sovereign God that on the
Amen.
other side of this, there has to be something good. So I'm just trusting and believing that we're going to come through this, and what God has for us to see and do, a lot of things will come to fruition.
Yes.
How are the beauty and barber professionals in the state? How are they doing? Are there any businesses that have been impacted by the looting and the rioting? Or how are they doing in your state?
I haven't heard of any salons or barbershops during this time. Haven't had any update of anyone having a problem with looting, rioting in my city or my state.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, good, 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 good. Well, Dr. Brenda, we appreciate you. We're going to bring on some of the other advocates from around the country. We like to give an advocate update. We will be doing this broadcast every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, because we want to definitely make sure that the industry's voice is heard. We've been in the background for so long. People are making decisions for us, and we need to be making decisions for ourselves. So, Dr. Brenda, I want to thank you for all you do up in the great state of Ohio.
Yes, we're continuing to fight legislation opposing bills that's affecting the beauty industry. We have 6 bills right now.
Mhm.
And I think I sent you the latest one. I don't know if you had a chance to look it over yet. It was House Bill 673, and um, generally it was saying getting a license during this time of the COVID-19, that you have to have another license to practice in a fixed location. If you're going somewhere other than your fixed location, then another license would be required, and similar to a mobile license or something like that. But I don't think it's going to be anything big as what the other bills that are taking away hours from beauty school and cosmetology and barber school. They're trying to cut the hours in that, uh, stamp out instructors license and CEUs, which would involve messing with the CEUs. So there's still quite a bit. Even the natural hair, they're trying to deregulate that, trying to make it a certified certification, not a license. I think having a license is important. Going to school and learning is important. And they don't think that having a cosmetology license to do natural hair, and we fought for that back in 2012, and won that they would get a natural hair license. Now they're trying to deregulate it and say, just get a certificate. Not acceptable. Not, it devalues our profession.
We got to continue,
So
definitely.
we're in our General Assembly right now, and there are several bills that we're opposing, and I'm glad to be a part of the concerned beauty and barber professionals politics beauty and barber, because nationally we're talking helping states to state that are still going through the same problems. And if we don't stand together, then it's not going to be a good thing for the industry as far as small businesses and black businesses especially, because we're in this together, whether we're African American, Caucasian, Hispanic, doing the beauty industry. We're in this together to stand. It's not a black thing or a white thing. And like you said last week, Tamara, that hair is texture. It's about hair. It's not about color.
Mhm.
So
So right.
deregulation, no. Mm-mm. Segregation, no. We got to do this together, statewide. So more power to you, girl.
More power to us.
Yes,
I can't do this
yes.
without any of you guys. So I want to thank you, Dr. Brenda, for holding it down up in Ohio. Let's see. I think we have Kevin. No. We have Andre in Wisconsin. Let's see where Andre is. Wait, is he still there? I think he's having some. We'll bring you back in a little bit, Dr. Brenda.
Okay.
See if we have. He's having some issues. We'll come back to him. His internet's not kicking in right now. But we have Denise Jarrett, who is with Eco Hair out in Minnesota, and she's in California as well. We're going to bring her on and let her give us a quick update about what is actually happening with the salons. And hey, good morning, Denise.
How you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, Minneapolis, Minnesota, the state of Minnesota. You've been addressing the hair and the beauty industry there for quite a long time. What's going on out in Minnesota?
Well, what's going on out in Minnesota? You know, that's the epic center, what we are calling now the ground zero of the magnitude of all these high profile police murders. In my lifetime living in Minnesota, it's been five of them. Okay. And so now with this latest one with George Floyd, okay, the people just got upset. They just got upset. They seen the racial division. Minnesota is the first state to send a police officer to jail for killing someone, but he killed a white woman and it was a Somalian police officer. It was black. Okay, so that what caused them to riot and tear up the entire state, in my view. But I've traced and found at least five beauty and barber salons that have been either vandalized or burned completely out, and those are all black beauty salons.
Mm, mm. What kind of initiatives are you guys putting together as a resource to get support to those businesses? Have you started working on anything?
Well, right now, each and every business has its own GoFundMe, as
Mhm.
well as the politicians are mobilized in getting the money to them. However, as you know from being going into the federal level, some of the CARES Act money has not even reached them yet. Okay, so some states are still arguing over the CARES Act money on top of the coronavirus epidemic, and then we have this Black Lives Matter pandemic. Okay, so all of those things connected together is just leading the people to fend for themselves. And what I have done is I've taken donations and then I donate myself to all of the ones that I find. That's how I found them. I researched them out for my state to find them. Since I'm the association, it was up to me to find those people that were affected and donate through my agency and get the word out. So I posted it and did what I could. If they want me to help them with like driving it through social media, I will. However, some people are just wanting social capital. They really not looking for money. Right now in this time, they need bodies to hold them and just keep them up. Physical, since we had social distancing as an issue, you can't get a hug. This is what we used to, you know.
Mhm.
So that's basically what I've been doing, sending my virtual hugs and posting it everywhere to other people and in different groups.
Yeah, yeah. We're going our hearts and prayers with those that have lost their businesses and that are in this industry that have lost their businesses. Is on top of this pandemic with the coronavirus, now we got this pandemic with these riots and looting and things that are happening behind this lynching of George Floyd.
Yeah.
So Denise, I appreciate all you do in the state of Minnesota and all you do for the industry. So thank you for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate all you do. I love watching y'all and y'all keep it up. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. We appreciate you.
All right. See y'all next time. Bye
Yes,
bye.
ma'am. Let's see what Mr. Andre is. Good morning, Mr. Randall. Good morning. Wisconsin in the house.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you out there?
Well, we're making it. It's not as bad as I've seen around the country. They're using that pretty much they're controlling things by curfews.
Mhm.
So in the two little towns I live in, they are controlling it by curfews. There's still some mild damage and some mild looting. Um, just a lot of people thinking that that's some of the way that their voice being heard, but it's definitely some protesting of positivity too. So they're being heard. It's just the fact of them doing it without destroying. Some of them are, some of them not. Um, Grateful enough that a lot of black businesses are not has not been damaged. So we're hanging strong with that at least.
Yeah. And black businesses are the last ones to get resources. So, if there was any monies, it would be probably a lot more difficult for some of our minorities, black, brown people to really get the resources they need. So
Yeah.
we're in some sad times, Andre, and we're just trying to
Yes.
make sure we keep our voices heard as advocates, as beauty and barber professionals. We're not going to be silenced. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep speaking about our issues. We talk about all of this in our salons and barbershops. Have you guys gone back to work yet? What is the status with everything?
Yes, we're the two cities are fully open. State of Wisconsin is fully open. They have made it aware that they opened up earlier than the governor had anticipated because the Supreme Court, um, people in the Supreme Court fought for it that they should be opened up early. They didn't want to stay closed, so they opened up early. And so far, like I said, as far as the coronavirus, I heard nothing about it. As far as the voice of the violence, that's been the focus right now. We literally have the National Guards out here, so there's helicopters and tanks and everything in this area.
Yeah. Yeah, they, it was a constitutional violation, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They were, you can't tell people not to work and feed themselves and take care of themselves when you're not even providing for them.
This is true. This is true.
So there was no,
So they
there was,
back.
Go ahead,
So
Andre.
they're fully back to work. Everything is open.
Hmm.
Everybody's business is back open.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, when you stay strong, stay safe. Thank you for all you do in the beauty and barber industry. It's, we got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work. The 8 advocates. So those of you that are watching, we encourage you to join us. He's Andre's in Wisconsin. He's our Lone Ranger out in Wisconsin. We don't have any other support in that state, and we're not, able to address everything that is happening with one person. Our goal has always been to have 8 in each state. So if we can get some more professionals to rise up, I mean, this is how we save our industry. This is how we protect our license. This is how we sustain our industry and our life and our lifestyles. Because if there's no license, it becomes a free for all. That means any and everybody could do this. That means the profitability, the advancements that could happen in this industry are totally diminished. There's no, it becomes, everybody and their mama doing it, right?
That's right. That's right.
And we want professionals, those of you that are trained, those of you that are specific about, health and safety, and intentional about making sure that everybody that comes into your salon, you're making sure that you're not spreading this virus, and that there's training that comes with that. So I just want to applaud you, Andre, for holding it down as best you can in the state of Wisconsin and representing our industry. Thank you so very much.
Thank you guys for having me. This has been great. I can't wait to see what the future is going to bring.
Oh yeah, we going somewhere. Right?
That's right. That's right.
We've been working on some
Yes,
stuff
we
behind
are.
the scenes, guys. We'll actually, our next Monday school, for those of you that don't know, we do Monday school every second and fourth Monday. Our next one is this coming Monday, June the 8th. And we got some updates, great updates. A lot of things are happening. So yes, Andre, we are taking it to the next level.
All right. Can't wait.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. You ladies stay safe.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's see. Guess who's in the house? Mr. David Slavin from last week, talking about racism, race relations. David, you watching all this protesting, rioting, looting?
Yeah, I've been troubled by some things, inspired by others. Um, I've been inspired by what seems to be a multiracial, group of young people that seem to have transcended some of the segregation that has been, so much a part of the institutional framework of maintaining inequality. It's hard to maintain inequality when people are comparing notes with each other and finding, both the injustices that are selectively um, um, visited upon people of color, African American folks, ADOS folks. Um, when you're not subject to them, I mean, there is a real, I think, human impulse towards equality. People want to be treated, even if they look like they're getting special favors. They don't like that. They really don't like that. Um, so that's been kind of inspiring to see that. I I'm not sure if we've worked out a way to fight for equality. Um, that is European Americans, how they're gonna change their behavior, because that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. How do European Americans change their behavior? Um, so that they are repudiating these advantages that they have that in fact really hurt them. So, um, uh, so that's one thing that's I think really promising sign. The other thing that's going on is repression, and what seems like I've just been reading some things that there may be some deliberate provocations that are happening in the midst of these demonstrations. That some of this violence is actually being perpetrated by white supremacists who are called accelerationists, who want to intensify the tensions, racial tensions, and as I said, to bring down the power of the state, the military power of the state, to uh, act as an accelerant to race war. And they're out there in the midst, of these legitimate demonstrations, and even people who are breaking windows or things like that because of their feeling of outrage. Um, that's just property damage. That's, to me, that's not violence. Um, but there are people who are trying to uh, push this um, the tensions to as high a point as they can. Um, so I mean, I've seen demonstrators actually. I've seen on MSNBC demonstrators who have intervened when people have been doing things that clearly seem that seem to be, not clearly, but seem to be deliberate acts of provocation. So I would say we're par for the course, and some of those people may be cops as well. Um, that's been done in the past. I mean, I participated in a lot of demonstrations when I was younger, and could still run away. I can't run away anymore. So, you know, uh, but the thing is that another troubling thing, and this is something I was just reading just before we came on the air. Um, there's an article in BuzzFeed about one of the reasons, one of the most um, uh, uh, strongest reasons why police reform has been so difficult to do is because of police unions. And that's something to really keep in mind when there's a book by a Washington Post reporter, something about the warrior cop, I think it's called. I can't remember his name. But this whole militarization of the police is that's been going on for quite a few decades now, is fully supported by the police unions, which have enormous amounts of power. I mean, as the labor movement as a whole has declined in power, police unions have only increased their power and influence in politics, and that's very troubling, because their interests and the interests of working people as a whole conflict with each other so much. This mayor of Minneapolis um, abolished this kind of warrior training that police do, and the police union in Minneapolis, this when he was elected, um, he has really changed their training to de-escalation training, and the police union went ahead and got some uh, private, mercenary group to train the cops in this militarized form of policing, and promise that it will continue as long as Mayor Fry is the mayor. So that's just astonishing. Now, what does this? What does it mean? Well, the uh, uh, who is who is creating the culture uh, that is creating this militarized policing. Well, one of the reasons that exists is because a lot of the guys a lot of the guys, I'm I think that's a part of it, is the overwhelming maleness, even with women joining the police force now. Many of them come out of the military to begin with. Um, may have even been military police themselves. Um, the other thing is that the federal government gives surplus military equipment to the police forces in this country, um, and uh, and the the third thing is, and this is something that I think the Nation um, writer and lawyer Ellie Mistal has written an opinion piece about, is that the white America likes its killer cops. It was the title of his recent essay in the Nation, and I have to say that there really is a sense that that a subtle message that says that you need tough cops to protect you from these terrible black people, um, protect your property, protect your person from people who are bad people, and so we're left, and there's the the sense that you as a white person will not be subject to the same kind of abuse and manhandling um, and mistreatment and dehumanization, um, and that may be true in upper middle class suburbs where they do have community control of the police. Um, uh, Except for those black people who integrate those suburbs, upper middle class black people who integrate those suburbs, who are constantly harassed and challenged. But among working class whites, I think that they are subject not nearly as much to the kind of police um, abuse, generally speaking, general police abuse as black people are, but they certainly are subject to a heck of a lot more than in these nice, upper middle class neighborhoods. So there really needs to be some sense about. Um, I don't want to put it in insensitive terms, but out of 1,000 people who were killed by the police last year, and I say this with quotes around it, only half of them were black or people of color. I'm putting quotes around that to say that obviously it's way out of proportion. But on the other hand, you have to question, who are these white people who are getting killed by the police? Uh, and I mean, we can see from this thing about Minneapolis, um, that the only officer who was prosecuted and convicted of killing someone was a Somali immigrant, person who killed a European American woman, and that fits the pattern. It fits the pattern of who gets what do you call it? Who is convicted and sentenced to death in this country doesn't depend on the as much on the color of the person who is convicted as it does on color of the person who's the victim of the.
So David, let me. I'm gonna jump in right here. I actually put out a post, and I was on another page that I'm on, and I started talking about how does America stop the protests, the rioting, the looting? How does this all just come to a halt? And my answer to it is, if Minneapolis would arrest all four officers, get them off all four of the officers need to be arrested. And I think it would at least in a some sense calm some of this down. But the fact that they've made no other arrests, and they're now trying to say that George Floyd had these pre-existing conditions that contributed to his own demise. The way it's just like they're really trying to create this defense based on anything.
Tamara, I think that one of the things that I've been hearing from there's I can't remember his name right offhand, but one of the legal advice correspondents for MSNBC, Paul Butler is his name. It was a federal prosecutor, says that yes, there may have been pre-existing conditions, but if you are the proximate cause of someone's death, if it was a death by a heart attack, you're guilty of murder. So this is I think the family brought in an independent medical examiner. The medical examiners has refuted those claims. That's the kind of thing that's going to come up in a trial. I think that Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, is certainly someone who is going to be thorough. And these things do take time. They have to do the due diligence and weigh the evidence before they decide. It's clear that Chauvin's already facing third-degree murder charges. The other three officers are a little bit more. It seems to me that they have to be very careful about what they charge them with. Because these guys, you overcharge them, things that you can't prove, like intent, and they walk.
What about aiding and abetting? They were a part of it.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you about that, but you and I have not seen the video from all the angles. It's not.
So there's another video, David, where I did not, like I said, I can't even watch some of this stuff, but there's another video. He was actually beaten in the car. I'm not sure if anybody has seen that. George was beaten. I'm like, did he? There's all kinds of videos that are surfacing, and I'm hoping to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, and it the frustration is that it takes mass demonstrations, disruptive mass demonstrations in 50 cities across the country for this to for there to be follow through on this. Now, there are other things. I mean, there are really systemic things that need to be done. There needs to be and we're not going to get this until the Congress is changed, and there needs to be a federal training program for police that centers on de-escalation. There needs to be, community control boards in every, major police department in the country. And the federal government can do this, not by issuing they can't override state law, but the
Say it
way,
again, David. I think those are some excellent points. A
yeah.
federal
Well,
training. Say it again.
the point is that the way that the way that the federal government imposes these things is as regulations. You don't get your police department does not get federal money unless you follow these guidelines, and that's the way they are able to do it. It's a very powerful tool for the federal government to use, and we need a Justice Department that is going to investigate patterns and practices and come up with consent decrees, as they were doing in the Obama administration, which Attorney General Jefferson Beauregard Sessions and William Barr have completely disbanded. So, there's plenty of things that are going to happen, if there is more, if there's a real change in the federal in Congress and in the White House in November. So,
Dr. Brenda,
Yes,
taking notes over there too, because I'm taking notes over here.
yes, yes. David is very good
Mhm.
in explaining and giving us update on what's needed, what is, and what's going to be.
Mhm.
Change has to take place.
Jackie says he went in one door and out the other being beaten. So yeah, he was beaten in the car, and I didn't know that part. And I'm seeing
Wow.
now these videos that are coming up about how this all transpired. It's
Yeah.
the saddest. Like I said, it makes me weepy. It makes me so mad that if I don't cry, I might be out in the streets.
Yeah.
Like I might be really one of the. I mean, I don't mind a little activism,
Right.
so I'm gonna go ahead and cry and contain myself. 'Cause people are angry, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Yeah. David, how do we take this moment in time, and maybe the ladies can help with this conversation, this moment in time, and hopefully our industry as beauty and barber professionals, the diversity in our industry, how do we take this moment in time and see that this is an opportunity for us to come together and for us to unite and for us to like how do we build solidarity? I think that's probably my question to you, David.
well, I think that's something that I can't provide any more than some suggestions or outlines. I don't know the industry well enough. I think there's got to be reaching out to European American salon owners and workers. There's engaging them, bringing them into conversation, so that they can see the special um, ways in which inequality and white supremacy have made uh, the Black beauty and barber industry more vulnerable financially, but yet more. I would say the 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 contradiction is that they are both more vulnerable and also more integral to their own communities.
Mhm.
I'm not sure about this, but it really seems to me that beauty and barber salons are really at a focal point, a cultural focal point um, for African American communities. They give center and networking for African American people African American communities, and in possibly in in European American neighborhoods, they are more kind of uh, you know
Mhm.
I mean important, but not nearly as important because there are many other places to congregate, to network, to um, uh, establish your to forge relationships. So I think that European American people in the industry have to recognize how important your uh, uh, the uh, the the part of the industry that is African American is, and probably for other people of color as well. Um, so that's
How
just
important it is, finish that thought, how important it is, and maybe I can help you finish that thought, how important it is for us to be united around our issues. And I think they tend to think that we're making money, and they don't really see that what happens to parts of the industry happens to all of the industry, and they have to be a part of the process of the policy specifically. Like they have to be engaged. We have to be engaged together because policymakers see this as this industry that's fragmented and divided. And, this is an industry of professionals that they don't deem as essential. we're non-essential. We just do hair, we just do nails. So they don't see how, like I said, there's so much mental health, so much mental support, David, that we give our clients. I think honestly, when I think about the work that we do, I would tell you, I would believe that the mental part of it is the stimulation there is so
mm,
important than the actual service. Because I've been in places where I've gotten a bad haircut, or I've seen, but people still, I've gone back because I know that this place is good for me, or this I like her, I like him, so I go back for something other than whether or not the service was that great. So I think there's so much more to who we are that
yeah
has to be addressed. And then we need to come together so that policymakers will really, see the seriousness of our industry. You know, don't think that we're non-essential, because we are essential workers. Um, and until the European Americans or our white counterparts see that we have to navigate these waters together, and until they start to do that with us, we're going to continue to be so divided, David, that we're not going to be able to fight deregulation. We're not going to be able to fight the things that are plaguing our industry. We can't fight being broken apart. And I know you talked about the solidarity among workers, and that's why I've invited you to the broadcast, because I know you don't know our industry specifically, but you have you know the landscape of workers and how important it is that race can't be the divider. It cannot be when we're all doing the same job. We're all doing this, doing the same thing. Danielle, you want to jump in? Because I've been talking a lot.
Saying some good stuff, both of you guys. I think that, during this time, the writing's on the wall, the issues that we have tried to turn a blind eye to or kind of keep swept under the rug, they have been brought to the forefront, not just with our recent, our president has allowed certain tensions and feelings and emotions to really just kind of like really stand at the forefront of everything. And I believe that within this pandemic, the closing of the salons, just the virus, is showing that, we are all affected. No matter what state you're in, no matter, what color, what race you are, at the end of the day, the majority of us just want to take care of our families. We just want to leave a legacy for the ones that are coming behind us. And that is slowly being stripped away from us. And, no matter how you feel about a person's color, it shouldn't it shouldn't stop you from taking a stand against what's right or what's wrong. And I believe that, we just really have to look at the bigger picture, because while we are fighting amongst ourselves and staying divided, they are slowly passing these bills and making decisions for us to say, hey, you're not essential. People can Google how to do their hair. They can Google how to do certain services. So where does that leave, the professional, the beauty professional, in addition to our businesses being vandalized, whether it was done on purpose or just on accident? How do we recover from that if we are so divided? And I just believe that in this time, beauty professionals must come together. We can no longer say, well, that's a white salon or that's a black salon, because at the end of the day, we're all still affected by these issues. And if and my thinking is, if I know it's easy to sit back and say, well, I'm not black, or I'm not, this particular race, so I should be fine. But what happens when it does come to your neighborhood, and it does affect your family member or your friend? What happens then? What are you going to do about it? I mean, we just can no longer keep our heads in the sand. We have to stand up and come together.
Mhm.
That's right.
You want to chime in there, Dr. Brenda?
I feel that in this time that we're in, an unrest, that it is a time that beauty barber professionals can make a difference coming together. Segregation, not in our industry. As I see the diversity of those that are protesting peacefully, some of them probably are cosmetologists and barbers, or no cosmetologists and barbers. If they're coming together in peace and equality, wanting to see a change and make a change. And I think that we have that opportunity, and to use this opportunity to speak to our European Americans, all of the other races, and this can happen. I like what David was saying, that um, African Americans are the focal point of the community of African Americans. In our salons, they come, they they receive, they get resources, um, they find where to go and what to do in our community of salons and barbershops. And we have to teach the European Americans how this is done, that how it is being done, that we can do this together, that diversity is what's needed, and we can do it.
Mhm. David?
We lead by example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
David?
I, yeah, I mean, I think that maybe there's a sense that that European Americans, salons and barber shops um, may be missing some of the depth of their uh, relationships. Like what you said about the emotional support that people get in you know
Mhm.
in beauty and barber, in salons and shops. Um, maybe that's that uh, uh, that uh, that the African American part of the industry can wake up that aspect of showing how this is done, uh, uh, you know, uh, uh, to European Americans. But I think that there's also a danger of trying to say we're all in this together when in fact it's really both and that we can't ignore the inequalities. And at the same time, we have to argue for solidarity. Um, so we there are things that happen to black folks and their businesses that are not going to happen to European Americans and their businesses and their workforce. Um, but it's still indirectly going to affect them, through the whole thing about delicensing and deprofessionalization. Um, that's going to really open the way um, for the corporatization of the industry. Um, the capital is always looking for ways to make a profit. And uh, if they can create, an industry that's made up entirely of franchises, um, there's a layer of corporate capital that's sitting on the industry, on the small business owner who becomes a franchisee, who's got to share his profits and his labor with a corporation. So there's a concentration of an economic concentration that happens there as it's happening everywhere else. And that's the kind of thing that ends up, funneling wealth into the hands of the people who already are obscenely wealthy. So um, that's something that I think is really troubling about the whole business that's going on. And the president creates a weapon of mass distraction, by all of the ways in which he takes our attention and our energy and our emotion away from what's really going on, which is this concentration of capital. So I that's where I think that maybe this could be a real opportunity for us. We can't ignore the inequalities, but at the same time, we have to find ways of opening up, of shifting the attention to what's really going on. Not just in this industry, but in others as well.
Well, David, you are always a friend to this industry. We need all the support we can get, and I think that your expertise with workers and working America and labor unions and the conversations and training that you've done around race and racism and race relations. I mean, we just have so much work to do, and I just want to thank you, David, for being a resource to our industry.
Thank you, Tamira. I really appreciate your confidence in me and opportunity to talk to folks.
And Miss Danielle over in Pennsylvania, thank you. And my trusty co-host this morning, Miss Dr. Brenda, for being on the, taking Ohio by storm and, letting them know that we're not an industry to be toyed with in Ohio.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you, David, for coming on.
Yeah. We're like at the top of the hour. I want to encourage those that don't know who we are, what we're doing, and why we're doing it to be a part of this. Our organization is we've always said we don't have to have the masses because we don't. We're only looking for 8 professionals in each state, 8 in each state, 2 cosmetologists, 2 estheticians, 2 nail techs, 2 barbers. Just be a part of what we're doing so that as these bills and these laws, things are rapidly changing in our industry, let's stay on the forefront. Let's not always be behind the 8 ball. Let's not always be the last ones to find out about what is happening to us, because things are happening to us and there's an agenda that's bigger than us. But until we come together Until we come together as beauty and barber professionals, we will always be on the losing end of this. The capitalists and those that these corporations, they see the potential, they see the opportunity, they see that this is an industry where they can make a whole lot of damn money. And like David said, you know, they're structured in a way where these profits are being shared and everybody's getting paid off of what we should be getting as beauty and barber professionals. So until we come together, no matter what, you know, we're black, brown, red, green, whatever color should not be a barrier in our industry. It should not be anything that continues to divide us. And it is. And it's evident in our practices internally. It is evident in what we're seeing now in America. So I want to encourage those of you that are interested. If you know anybody that is halfway interested, please send them our way. You can find us at thecbbp.org/join us. Go to our website. We actually have a politics beauty website too, where we talk about the efforts politically, what we're doing politically. We're preparing for our 8th annual industry day that will be coming up next year. Like, you know, prayerfully this pandemic does not return and we can actually gather and we can make some things happen. But let's come together as beauty and barber professionals and change the state and the fate of our industry. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, member advocates, and thank you, David Slavin, for joining us. And we look forward to continuing these kind of conversations next week, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.